Good morning. This is Kajukenbo Live coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez from the Worldwide Kajukenbo Federation. Today's show this is what the title is going to be called. It's Being Taught Wrong Can Cost You Your Life, so don't be misled. So I thought I'd make a little video on this to talk about that. What I mean about that is a lot of times in the martial arts you have a lot of good, studios, and then you got some studios out there that's out there just for the money, and they give you like black belt classes and black belt programs, so your child can be a black belt in a year or two, and that's the misled part. So I'll give you an example. It's like handing a person a gun to go out in a gunfight with no bullets. That's the way I look at it, and that's the way I've always felt this way about it. There is an exception on some junior black belts, but I'm not talking about 5 and 6 year olds. I'm talking about 14, 16 years old, things like that. There's some exceptions. They're just really talented black belts. But the thing is what happens. A lot of studios will come into this, like let's say for example a black belt program. And EFC wanted me to do it for a while, and I just refused to do it because I couldn't scam the people, and it wasn't fair to the child. Because what happens is you make that child a black belt, let's say in a year's time, because the parents paid so much money. You got, private lessons. You got special, learn your form today class, and special black belt promotion classes to get your black belt. It's just a scam, because the problem is you hand that kid that black belt, or even an adult. It doesn't have to be a child, it can be an adult. Same thing. You hand that child a black belt, and it gives them a self worth that they think they're a black belt, and they can defend themselves, and they can, I don't want to use the word beat up, but like, really defend themselves. And then they get into a real fight and they get their ass kicked, or they get hurt. Or let's say, for example, I remember this is probably in the 80s when the Kuksu Wan studios were coming around. Same thing. They were giving black belts to 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and 9-year-olds. And back then they had combined a lot of divisions. It's not like now, all split up. And one of my yellow belts had to fight one of their black belts in the little kids division. Of course, my yellow belt beat him like 3-zip. Well, the kid ran out crying, with his black belt around him, to the mother, and they go, "How can he beat me? He's a yellow belt and I'm a black belt." See, there's the misled part of it. The parents paid so much money for this kid to get that black belt. All it did was hurt him. It didn't help him. So a lot of studios out there, it's kind of really sad. Because I see it sometimes. I'm not going to point no figures, or I'm not going to say he said, she said, who did it, but it's out there. You guys have seen it. In years' time, you got 50, 60 black belts being, tested for their black belts, so from little kids all the way up. I had my studio for probably almost 40 years in the same location. And if you go on the family tree, you might see 100 and something black belts under me. My black belts, not black belts that just under my association. I'm talking about my black belts. And the people that, of course, they wielded off of their own black belts and promoted people. But you figure in 40 years, I'd have like hundreds and hundreds or thousands of black belts on that list. And the reason they didn't is because they had to be there and learn. They didn't get their black belt in a year. They didn't get it in 2 years. They didn't pay me any more money than the kid that got his yellow belt. They paid the same, but there's, just, you have to earn it. You got to train hard. And the reason I say this about, for example, it can cost you your life. And I'll give you a quick story on this. And it's not even a black belt story, but it's the thought that's put in their head. I had a student, an adult, and he got his purple belt. Well, yourself, a purple belt is pretty much still a beginner, okay? And yourself, you can train hard, but it takes you years to perfect the martial arts, no matter what style you do, to get it down pretty good that you can defend yourself. You can't take a 6-week course and go out there and beat people up. It's not going to happen. Well, long story short, he's a purple belt. He'd come in 3 times a week. He trained, and sparred with the guys in class and stuff. And that was cool. And all of a sudden, one day, he never showed up. I thought to myself, wonder what happened to him. Well, I found out later that he was in Hayward, in a bad area, at a church place, a lot of gangsters and stuff. And this guy wanted to fight him and stuff, and he tells him, "Oh, let's go out in the street because we can't disrespect the church." Well, the first mistake he made, he turned his back on the guy. And the guy pulled a knife out and stabbed him right in the lung from behind. Almost killed him. He spent, I don't know how many weeks in the hospital. I mean, barely making his life, And then I didn't see him for probably a year or so later. And he came in, and he was embarrassed because of what happened. And I said, "Well, why would you do that?" He's, "Well, because, I was a purple belt, so I thought I'd be able to defend myself. And, and I turned my back on this guy, and he stabbed me in the back, So that's sometimes, you have to understand that's the misleading part. You can train hard, but you gotta put the time in. You just can't be a yellow belt, an orange belt, a purple belt, a blue belt, even a blue belt, and think you're going to go out there like you see in TV and beat up 10 guys. It's not going to happen. So that's why I wanted to kind of make this video, because I'm kind of I've seen a few things online and stuff, and I just want to get my opinion out there and my thought and view on this. So before you give your child or your student as a child a black belt, you need to think about it. You need to think about, is that money worth the integrity or the way this child is going to become when being misled? Because a lot of parents will do that. They'll push their kid, because they want them to be a black belt. Here they are, 12 years old, and they're out there wearing a black belt and doing all this division. Then when it happens, when they get into the older division, they get the shit kicked out of them. And there goes their confidence and everything out the door, and they usually wind up quitting. Very seldom do you find somebody that will move on because of that reason. And if you're a good instructor, what student's is really good, and they can handle that mental part of wearing that belt. Because usually most people under 18 years old doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what it really means. It's because they're misled. They might go into class, and they're the guys teaching the white belt kids, and doing a good job on that, and being the superstar. But when you go on the street, it's a completely different story. Even the adult black belts, if you don't train hard and know what you're doing, you will get your ass kicked. I guarantee it. So just don't think because you got your black belt, you're gonna go out there and be like the movies. Because it's on the street, it's not like the movies whatsoever. They got knives, they have guns now. It's not like before. You get in a fist fight and you punch each other and you leave. It's just not gonna happen that way. So and the best thing that I always give all my students, the best fight is no fight. If you can avoid a fight on the street, avoid it. You don't have to be the tough guy and to go there and beat the guy up or rip your gi top off and want to fight somebody, because then you look like a total asshole. Okay? Be the smart guy. The smart guy that'll walk away. Like I was told one time by one of my students, "Well, Sifu, what would happen if someone pulled a gun on you and asked you for your wallet?" I'd give them my wallet. "Oh, you mean you wouldn't do this, and that?" "No." I'd give them my wallet. Because there's nothing in that wallet that's worth more than my life. Because it takes a second to pull the trigger. Okay, and if he's 4 or 5 feet away, I don't care what kind of martial art guy you are, you're going to get shot. As simple as that. Well, what if someone pulls a knife on you? What should I do? My answer to him was, run. Run? Yeah, run. Now, if you get cornered, you're going to have to be able to defend yourself. And that's when your skill needs to come in. But a guy pulls a knife on you, and you think you're going to go, oh, and throw the knife over the guy sitting and and beat him up. Why? If I can just run without getting cut, getting hurt, don't you find that the best scenario? Now, I know you might be thinking, oh, that's just being a pussy. That's not being a pussy. That's being smart. Use your head. A good martial artist will use their head. My teacher always said, he always told the story, if you chase a tiger, what will the tiger do? Most likely the tiger will run. You corner the tiger in a corner, what will the tiger do? The tiger will turn around and kill you. I see, said the blind man. Think about it. But the main thing is try to focus on your studios and not worry so much. I know about the money. I know you got to pay the rent, you got to pay whatever, but don't jeopardize the integrity of that little kid by giving him a black belt or her a black belt when they're 10, 12 years old. And they've been taking karate from you for, a year. It's just not smart. And the same thing with the adults. Don't do that, because all you're going to do in the long run is hurt that student. That's why I thought I'd make this little video today to start off the new year with a little thought just coming out of my head and stuff like that. So remember, sometimes, if you want to do little things in class that you want to promote to make a little extra money to pay the rent or pay the phone bill, whatever. But don't jeopardize the students' safety over it. It's just not going to work. So just keep that in mind. Again, this is just my thought. If you have something completely different you think about, just send me a message on this video, and we'll talk and we'll discuss on it. Or call me, 530-600-2441, like I always give my number. So please, really focus this year and focus on putting out good, talented students, not paper students, not a paper black belt. You don't want to be a paper black belt. You want to train hard. And in the old days, all you guys are out there, in the old days, we didn't leave that mat unless we were bloody or cut up. That's how we trained in the old days. Now it's not like that. But the ones that trained in the early 70s and some of you guys in the 60s, especially with Grandmaster Gaylord, you got bloodied. But then you learn how you got hit. And so you know what it feels like. A lot of studios out there, and I won't mention anybody's name, they won't do sparring. They just do forms or do all the techniques and stuff. That's great. But once you get punched in the face, it's all going to go out the door. You have to learn how to get hit too. So just a thought, keep that in mind. But again, I hope everybody had a great year. I hope everybody had a good New Year's and stuff. And let's start this new year out with a nice bang and focus on our students and our schools and our families and everybody get along this year. Be a great thing to see. This is Kajukenbo Live coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. I'm Senior Grandmaster from the Worldwide Kajukenbo Federation. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this show.